Alright, what's going on, guys? It's been about 6 months since I made my last video, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about my review of the FX3. I have used it for about 6 months, owned it for 7, but in the first month or so that I had it, I wasn't really able to use it. Now that I have used it for about 6 months, I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions on it and tell you guys how I like it, maybe some things I don't like about it, a few features that it has. I want to start off by saying that this camera is still on version 1. I have not updated it to the most recent version, even though the most recent version seems to fix a lot of the bugs that the old firmware had. I'm sticking on version 1 for now because I don't need DCI 4K, I don't need Cine AI, I don't need those things right now, but in the future I might need them, so I probably will update within the next month or two maybe. The new update is still new, so we'll see how that goes for other people, and maybe I'll update it eventually. So the first topic on this list that we're going to talk about is the reliability of the camera. How reliable is the FX3? Well, for me personally, it's been an incredibly reliable camera. I've never had an overheating issue with it once. I've never even had the overheating sign come up to show me that the camera is getting too hot. Never happened once. I've had the fan activate a few times because I was operating in 37-degree weather and direct sunlight, so that's bound to happen. But other than that, it's been totally flawless in that category. The battery life on this camera as well, it lasts between 45 minutes to an hour with continuous recording, which is really good, honestly. The reliability of this camera has been fantastic. It's never shut off on me, never had any underlying issues, nothing like that. It's been a real workhorse so far, so I appreciate that a lot. I have to say I love the ergonomics of this camera. I was considering a camera like the Blackmagic 6K Pro before I bought this one because coming from the Ursa Mini 4.6K, my job and the kind of work I was doing was taking me away from that bigger cinema camera style setup, so I wanted to get something smaller, a little more run and gun, a little more documentary style rig that's a little easier to carry around all day. So it was between this camera, the Sony a7S III, the a7 IV, but then I realized the a7 IV had a bunch of overheating problems, and the a7S III, it didn't come with a handle like adapter at the time. It does now. Small rig makes one, but I just like the FX3. I like the style of the body, I like the way that it looked, so I went ahead and purchased that. So the autofocus on this camera is incredibly good. It's very reliable in most situations. The tracking works pretty well. There's a lot of times for me personally where the tracking, where touch to track and the little box tracks the person, hasn't worked flawlessly. I feel like it loses subjects kind of easily depending on the lighting situations that they're in. And general autofocus works really good so long as you don't have a really heavily backlit scene because, and again, depending on the type of lens you're using. I've got the Tamron 28-75 G2 on here right now, and it works very well. But some lenses that I've used, the autofocus hasn't worked very well in heavily backlit scenarios. So the media / cards that I use for this camera, which have worked flawlessly as well, are the ProGrade V90 128 gigs. I use 2 of them in both the card slots. I don't really dual record that much unless it's on a very important project, but usually I just record through the entire card in one slot and then jump right over to the other. You do burn through those cards relatively fast, so I will probably pick up a 1TB card from Angelbird, which were just released at NAB this year for $500. So it's a lot better priced than Sony Tough cards. So I'll probably pick up a few of those. And I recommend, if you shoot a lot, if you're shooting anything documentary wise, you're probably gonna want one of those as well. The top handle is pretty good. I haven't used it a ton, and I had to modify mine with a Rycote shock mount because the Sony one just really sucks. It's really bad. There was a lot of handling noise. I actually went into the groups that I'm in for the Sony FX3 and was like, hey, can anyone tell me how to get rid of this? And people told me I was doing things wrong and yada yada, so I just ripped that one off, put on a different shock mount that's inherently a lot better, and now it works fine. I can swing the thing around on my hand like this and I've gotten zero noise coming from the shock mount, so I can throw a Sennheiser MKE600, which is my main microphone, up there, and it works pretty flawlessly. Honestly, it works really well. But the top handle is built really cheaply, so you got to be really careful with it, or else you can snap it in half. I've seen a ton of people do that, snap the top piece off. I would be very careful with that because you can just like chip it off if you put it in a backpack wrong or something like that, or bounce it around a little bit. So be careful with that if you're gonna do that. So should you get this camera in 2023 with a bunch of new stuff coming out? I'm sure Blackmagic's got something in the works. The Zcam E6 or F6 Pro is coming out. The Sony ZV-E1 has come out, and it's got all this new AI technology and stuff, and probably better autofocus than this camera. But for me, this camera has been perfect. You can buy them used now for pretty decent prices, and I picked mine up used about, like I said, 7 months ago, and it has never failed me. It's been a wonderful camera. It's super light. If I want to rig it up and make it look professional, I have no problem doing that. The only thing this camera is lacking for me personally is those internal ND filters. And if you want to get a better camera for bigger productions with SDI out, then you're probably going to want to go for the FX3, which also has internal ND filters, so that will take away that problem as well. But then you're paying almost twice as much. But anyways, so that's been my review of this camera. It works perfectly. If you want to get one, then I recommend you get one if you can, because it's a great camera. It's never going to let you down. The image quality is amazing. I love everything about it. For the entire time that I've owned it though, I have used the Sony 28-70 f3.5 to 5.6, and that is a horrendous lens. So now I'm going to get better footage with it with the Tamron G2 that's on it right now, but it took me a while to decide between that and the Sigma 24-70, and there's all the dust issues with the 24-70. So, but anyways, thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos. I did a good video on some super cheap LED lights. If you want to check that out, if you want to grab some of those lights, they're really cheap. I'm not endorsed by them in any ways, but they're super cheap. And if you feel like subscribing, then go ahead, or leave a comment if you have any questions, or like the video. So I'll see you guys next time, and goodbye.